Good afternoon, Las Vegas. This is Clark on the famous show Be Heard. We want you all to be heard. So give us a call. 702-493-5222 is our call-in number here locally. If you're one of our listeners calling from out of state, you can call 702-983-0711. Now, if you're out of state, you have to dial 1 to call that, but you won't be charged for the call because that is a Google number, which is supposed to be a free call from anywhere in the country. In Las Vegas, it seems like there's a problem with the phone company, and for whatever reason, and no one can give me an answer, when you dial that Google number from Las Vegas, you could be in the building right next door to us, and you have to dial 1 to call that Google number, and when you do, you're charged for a long distance call from Las Vegas to call Las Vegas. So if someone out there can explain that one to me, you'll be a first, because no one else in the whole country in the phone system can explain that one to me. That's a hiccup in some switching room somewheres. That is just one of these things now in this world that's totally unexplainable. This world has gotten too confusing in the 240 years that we've been a country. Everything is now so mixed up, which is partially caused by the influence and the managing non-capability of most of the people that are in positions to do whatever in this country are completely not competent to do it. And we end up in a mess. The longer this goes on, the worse things get. And that's what we've been experiencing now for, I'd say, the last, 8 years for sure. Look at the incompetency we've had in the White House. Unbelievable. And the incompetency we've had for the first 4 years of the Obama administration, where he was trying to quiet down Hillary Clinton, so he gave her a job. What's the old adage? Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Well, he was keeping Hillary Clinton, one of his staunch enemies, as close as he could by giving her a job in the administration, so she probably would cancel any plans she had to run against him in 2012. Well, I guess that Obama got what he wanted because Hillary Clinton didn't run against him. She just resigned from Secretary of State. Of course, she was the total and most incompetent Secretary of State this country's probably ever had, and now she's running for president, which I don't know what kind of capacity the Democrats think we have for jokes, but they have exceeded themselves on this one. She's the worst candidate ever possible to run for president of the United States. And now my other favorite woman on the Democrat side of the aisle, Debbie Blabbermouth Schultz, has now been removed by resignation, if you want to call it that. I'm sure she was told in no unexplicit terms to resign, which apparently she has, and she was resigning effective after the convention. Well, I don't know about that, but anyways, she started making implications that she was going to give the opening speech and the closing speech. Well, my understanding now is that's been sidetracked. So she's not going to be able to do that. So she's getting signs from someplace that she is no longer gratis whatever with the Democrat Party, as she should have years ago. She never should have been. But of course, the Democrats are famous for putting up their despicable tools that they use to operate their plebeium and force it down the throats of unsuspecting American citizens that have been dumbed down so much they can no longer figure out reality, and they've lost most of their common sense. So these are the type of roll-up, pull-the-string dolls they put out there like Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Well, her true colors have finally come out. A big email investigation, I guess now by the FBI, over the leaked emails that Debbie Wasserman Schultz and others were circulating around. regarding to their treatment of Bernie Sanders. And their goal from the beginning was the Democrat committee would prop up somebody in an attempt to make Hillary look good, their elite candidate that they were chosen, they had to put up there to be nominated to run as president this go around because she lost in '08 and some kind of backroom deal was made, I guess, to quiet her down so she would support Obama, that they would give her the nomination in '16. Well, here we are at '16. They've done their best to give her the nomination. It looks like they probably will, unless some atom bomb drops on them in the meantime, which there's a lot of rustling out there that it may happen. But at any rate, the FBI supposedly, big deal, is now investigating the leaked emails regarding the DNC. I don't know what relationship the FBI has to leaked emails from a party, political party, has to do with any security or anything of that nature that the FBI would be involved in. But anyways, they're supposedly looking into this. Now the word comes down just a little while ago that Debbie Wasserman Shelf is further not gratis at the convention at all, and she won't even be making any appearances whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I just heard that she's been removed from the convention site there in Pittsburgh, and she won't be allowed back. As a matter of fact, there's even further rumors that she's been placed in some sort of, I don't know if you would call it witness protection, or I don't know, they're hiding her out, let's put it that way. I don't know what the official classification of that will be, but it's just another example. When you're talking about a Democratic Party that has influence from people like George Soros, who's gratis not welcome in most other countries in the world because of the despicable things that he's tried to do by manipulating currencies and everything else. This guy is not a good character. He's out for himself, and he will disrupt anything that he can if he can bet the other way. He's the epitome of a don't bet. He bets the other way, and he causes the dice to not come out right because of the maneuvering that he does through his political connections and contributions to make sure the dice don't come out right. And he bets on the don't. And that's the way he's made billions and billions of dollars. I guess that's a brilliant move if you're a despicable, not moral character as he is, but that's what the Democrat parties fall for, are operatives like that, because in reality, that's exactly what the Democrat players are. They're just as despicable as the Soros or anybody else. Bill Clinton flying on the Lolita airplane over to the Isle of, underage women. This just goes on and on. Whatever follows the Clintons is always corruption, destruction, devastation. Now the DNC, because they've nominated, or about to, nominate Hillary Clinton, the devastation is just getting worse and worse. Now, Hillary Clinton showing her great delegation talents, which she has never had. She delegates this guy Kane from Virginia to be her running mate. Now, I've seen some characters. I mean, I lived through the days of Al Gore and Joe Biden and the people that come from the Democrat side of the aisle. And it's just unbelievable where these characters come from. Howard Dean, I mean, it goes on and on. But anyways, this guy's record of accomplishment is I don't think he's had any accomplishments. Let's put it that way. And today or yesterday on the weekend shows uh, that I always tune into, I'm not sure if it was Jeanine Pirro, but somebody had a radio talk show host who was liberal, giving her best attempt to support Hillary Clinton, but she was going down in flames because Jeanine Pirro is just too correct in her questions that no supporter of Hillary can possibly answer them. So she was trying to portray this radio talk show host of all the accomplishment that Hillary has had in her career, like as a senator, for example. And Pirro wanted to know what those accomplishments were. Of course, the typical Democrat answer to a question like that are all broadly painted brushstrokes that just apply to just crazy statements. Well, she has been one of the largest supporters of women. And, it goes on and on and on. All just blanket, no specific answers to the question, just generalities that don't even apply anywhere near to Hillary Clinton. How can she be a supporter of women and she takes 25 million from the country of Saudi Arabia? That is one of the worst violators of women's rights on the planet. Well, we can't answer that question, so we'll just ignore it and come up with a broad statement of how great she is to women. Well, in the Clinton Crime Foundation, I think the facts have supported that what they pay their women employees in that operation are 77% of what they pay men, I think, around there. But how does she answer that? She doesn't. She comes out with a statement that she's been a huge supporter of women. That's a lie, just like every single thing else that comes out of Hillary Clinton's mouth are a lie. Now, my previous radio show here at the Radio Tribune show was by Rolando Larraz, and he pointed out that he had heard words that Hillary Clinton said over the weekend that were actually true. After he picked me up off the floor, brushed me off, and sat me back down here, I said, would you explain that, please, because something's out of context here. Well, his explanation, of course, proved that I was correct in my doubts. And what she said was that Donald Trump and Mike Pence are exactly opposite of Hillary Clinton and this guy Kane ticket. And so Rolando was relying on the fact that that's true. And that is part of the statement. It's exactly true. They are total opposites of the Clinton-Kane ticket. Absolutely. And then she implied or tried to sell the lie that the Trump-Pence ticket was unqualified because of their record. And she and her record is non-existent, as is Kane. So the unqualified ticket is Clinton Kane. That's the unqualified ticket. So when she said that the Trump-Pence ticket is totally opposite, she was correct. When she said that the Kane-Clinton ticket was a ticket of accomplishment, she was absolutely lying. So, what she says out of her mouth can sometimes be true, but you have to take it in context to what her implications are, which will always be opposite of the truth. A perfect example was that statement. So, on that show this weekend, I think it was Perot, she put a chart up there on the screen of Hillary Clinton's proposals while she was in the Senate. And the first list, apparently Hillary Clinton has proposed, I don't know, I didn't add them up, but maybe 9 things. Okay, the first 6 things that were up there in the board, various proposals or bills or whatever you call them, that Hillary Clinton proposed to the U.S. Senate, next to them, denied. So she had absolutely no accomplishments there whatsoever. The 3 that did pass, that were approved, I think one was renaming a post office. That's quite an accomplishment to put in your feather cap, huh? That's a biggie, especially to run for president, that you were successful in renaming a post office. Great. The other one may have been a road or something that was named. Anyways, all of these 3 accomplishments amount to not even a hill of beans, not even a bump of beans. It's absolutely a pathetic thing to run on that you had a great record in the Senate. That's another one of these Clinton put out there lies. That is a complete lie. And I feel sorry for these operatives, like this radio host. I know she's a liberal, so there's no excuse for her, but she goes out and blathers out these grandiose statements that are as broad as you can make them, trying to cover up for this despicable candidate. They have a tough job to do, as proved by Debbie Wasserman Schultz Blabbermouth, who's no longer in that position of Blabbermouth in chief. She's now gonzo. She had a tough job. She had to keep saying, going before videos and audio claiming how great Hillary Clinton was, And it's all a lie. Hillary Clinton is the worst candidate ever. I think something just came across my desk before I started this show. There was an old report, I think, going back to the Watergate days. And there was a rather well-known Democrat in the Watergate Investigation Committee, of which Hillary Clinton was a part of. And the report that was published at that particular time, I've just got my staff now doing some research on it, but was reported, and we're going to get the documents that show what exactly that was. But the report is that Hillary Clinton, this guy that was a lawyer, I guess, or somebody in the Department of Justice that was doing this investigation of Watergate, said that Hillary Clinton had lied, produced false documents, all this despicable stuff that she's now very well known for. She was doing back in the Watergate days. So she's a complete fraud. And we're going to dig that up, and we'll let you know as soon as we get the proof of that. It may be in this week's Las Vegas Tribune, I think, if the staff gets done with their research, because we like to publish the truth around here. We don't publish stories like the Democrats will, or liberal newspapers, like the New York Slimes and the Washington Post and operatives such as that are just mainstream media that are 100% in lockstep behind whoever the Democratic candidate is, even one as flagrantly despicable as Hillary Clinton. They back her. Why? I wonder why all the newspapers around the country are going down the tubes. There's other things besides internet's taken over, or the EPA doesn't like all the newspaper print out there, it's not friendly to the environment, blah, blah, blah. You gotta cut down trees to have that, whatever. But the truth of the matter is that I think the readership is dropping because it's not the truth. And more people are realizing that the press, as they call it, are just reporting platinum. They're reporting brainwashing stuff. They're reporting facts as truth and as news that are not news. It's all just garbage. And more people are realizing that, and as such, their circulation is dropping. That's the cause for the New York Slimes and the Post and all these newspapers around the country to be having difficult times. Now you notice, or at least I do, because I really watch what's being reported closely, and not from what they're saying particularly, but what is the bottom line of what they're saying. Like I think there's a reporter now from the Boston Globe. I was born and raised in Massachusetts, 15 miles from Boston, so I like to watch them because it's a very liberal newspaper. But anyways, this reporter has now got some sort of national recognition a little bit. She's appearing on some national shows. And she is, I would say, a Trump supporter in a way. And she's starting to report the truth in the Boston Globe about the lies that are being reported on the other side. And that's going to be interesting to watch because to me, a very liberal paper like the Boston Globe seems to be going through a transformation. And that's the type of stuff that I notice. And that means to me that maybe we do have some hope in this country. For a long time, we really seemed hopeless. We were marching quickly down the wrong rails, going off the cliff. We need to turn the train around. We need to turn it around quick. And if we went through another election cycle, we weren't going to make it, that's for sure. You're on the air with Radio Tribune.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail.
Radio Tribune.
Yes. Calling in, listening to your discussion, and I have some concern that it sounds to me that you're just for the Republican Party. Is that correct?
I'm just for the Republican Party?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm for the truth more than any particular party. As a matter of fact, I don't like either party. I detest the Democratic Party because there's just a bunch of liars. The Republicans lie and distort, but they lie and distort less. So if I only have two parties to choose from, I guess I'm going to lean a little bit more towards the Republican Party. But my goal in life is to live long enough to see both parties declared as illegal organizations and be wiped clean from the slate of anything to do in the United States of America. That's my true belief.
Okay, but the impression that you give listening to you is again that you're really just favoring the Republican Party and you're painting a picture with audio, your statement, making this big from the Democratic Party down. And it gives the listener the impression that you're taking up for the Republicans, defending the Republicans, and again, putting the Democratic Party down.
Can you give me an example of any way that you, maybe as a caller, are supporting the Democratic Party? Can you give me an example of what you're supporting?
Well, actually, I'm not supporting either party. My position is shared with yours. I think that the American people need to accept the reality that elections have been reported to us by the inside system of the government, if you will, that it is corrupt. This is a long-standing problem. They used to show behind the polls how the voting machines were corrupt. We know what software can do. Software can create whatever statistics they want to give us and say this person won. There's no individual or group of just citizens that I know of who actually counts the votes other than those who are within the system paid to say they are counting the votes. So we don't have a good method there to convince people whether those elections are totally fair or not.
Well, it's highly corruptible, that's for sure.
So I think your position saying we should get rid of the two parties, or just political parties, period, seems to be a definite, real possible solution. However, you do not sound to be the representative of your own solution. I would strongly recommend that you would take a more neutral position and let people understand that you are pointing the strengths or the weaknesses of both parties, rather than sounding again that you just favor one party over the other.
Well, I'm a talk show that opened up a forum here to where people can call in and be heard. I'll take all calls from anybody, and that's what we are about, is solutions and whatever the people would like to recommend as a possible solution. I look at my job here as someone that keeps track of those solutions. I don't really profess to put anything out there that's trying to control anybody's thoughts as to calling in. I'm reporting the way that I see things and inviting people to call me and tell me the way they see things. Now, the spirit of conversation or instituting a conversation, I will put out there, and I'll go to my dying grave, that the Democratic Party I will never, ever, ever support under the current conditions. And as long as I've been alive, going back to, maybe the 60s and John F. Kennedy and so forth, since then, the D in Democratic Party to me stands for despicable. Now, that's my feeling. I think I could prove it in a valid debate with someone, and I could show fact after fact after fact after fact where they are just a bunch of lying, despicable people, period. That's my observation, more than whatever. That's my observation. I will say that it's a fact. Now, the Republican Party, on the other hand, to me is beginning to become almost symbolic with the Democratic game plan, where they're not truthful either. They're getting worse and worse and worse. We elected a bunch of Republicans the last go around that went to Washington with a mandate, or a platform anyways, that they were elected on to not fund Obamacare. How did that work out for us? These people are a bunch of liars too. So we have a big problem in this country. And one of the solutions that I've been keeping track of is to get rid of both parties. And if someone really looks at that solution, they're gonna start to understand, you know what? What are these parties for? What do they do for the American people? They don't do anything for the voter. Matter of fact, they take away our rights. To me, they hijack the American voter. And they are controlled completely by special interests. And that's my only point. Now, if I'm seeming like to my listening audience that I'm supporting the Democrats or not supporting the Democrats, these people are paying attention. Good for you. Because I don't. And I will never apologize for it. I could never support Hillary Clinton ever on anything.
I understand how you express your feelings and that you are saying you're brave and bold and you stand on your position and what you say. However, if a person is also sworn to support the Democrats, like some swear to defend their religion no matter what the truth can be said, they're going to still remain fixed that they are going to be their religion to the day they die. So some people may decide to say, well, on the Democratic or Republican Party, whatever party of their choice.
Well,
So you're sounding that you're in opposition. Why would they want to call in to someone that constantly is saying something against the Democrats and then coming right back in defense of the Republicans, even though you are articulating that your position is that parties need to be gotten away with and Republicans are looking worse and worse. But looking worse and worse is not the same as saying you personally would never defend or never be on the side of the Democrats and that they define what is despicable.
well, let me give you an example. Joe Lieberman used to be a Democrat, and I think he ended up kind of being an independent. There you had a staunch Democrat at one point in his life that started to maybe change his views a little bit and became an independent there at the end because the Democrats went against him because he wasn't filing in lockstep behind them and all their BS. So that's the type of Democrat that I could end up supporting. He's not really a Democrat today. He's more or less an independent. But anyways, people can change their minds and then they can become respectable. If the Democratic Party should ever do that, I will keep an open mind. But I don't see that happening. And to answer your original thought, if I'm having a caller, like maybe an Islamic terrorist calls in, and because of his religious beliefs, he thinks the Quran or whatever it is gives him the right to strap a bomb to his baby and send him out in public and have it blow up. Now that's his belief. He believes that. That's his religion. That's the way he was raised and indoctrinated. Do I have to say, well, you have the right for that thought? No, he has the right to be exterminated with that kind of thought.
Well, but again, look at the way you approach that. Rather than say that Christians have murdered and killed people and slaughtered people in the name of Christianity, you chose to attack the Islamic religion. And it's the same type of thing I was just discussing. That is an unfair approach to a more serious problem. There's actually, in actuality, there is no such thing as an Islamic or Christian or any of that. These are labels that people take on themselves. They are people. And some people make the wrong choices. So you don't condemn a group of people because of their beliefs and assume that by making that distinction, oh, what if it's an Islamic person because that's common today. It's okay to condemn Islamic people. But oh no, you don't think against the Christians because America, which is not really correct. If you want to do a true study of history, the founding fathers did not insert freedom of religion simply because they thought it was just a nice thing to do. They did it because many of them were not Christians. So they knew that if we're going to be a nation, we need to neutralize the religious issue so people are not killing and being divided just over the issue or debate on religion.
Well, when you refer like the way that you went at this particular issue that you raised, you mentioned religion, okay, that they believe this or that. You also started, I think, I'll go back up a little bit, that someone that believes in whatever the Democrat ideology stuff is that they're putting out there believes that, okay? They have a right to believe that, and I have a right as an American, as are they, I assume, to question their beliefs and what do they base the facts of their belief on. I think that they are basing their belief on false facts, a false narrative. So, as a debater,
and you would not say that the many who are Republicans are not doing the same thing.
oh, I said that, absolutely, but they're doing it less than the Democrats.
I think that you're missing my main point. Instead, I'm encouraging or suggesting, recommending to you, there's a host of a show. As much as possible, yes, you would state the facts, share your research, point out the wrong. People need to know that. But be very mindful and cautious of how you condemn one and praise the other, or ain't no good anymore. Then the next election, we're at 4 years, 8 years. Now they're ready to switch parties again. So it just keep going back to these two powerful parties between the Democrats and the Republicans. Is that because the mass of people are sold to that because they're convinced that the other parties never have a chance of winning, therefore you want to be on the winning ticket? Exactly why is those two parties? Who knows? It's the way the money goes, the way the media covers those parties, the way the media presents to the American public those two parties' candidates. Whatever the reasons are, your position as a host becomes the same role of a leader to help people get the facts, but not be swayed by just your inserted statements, again, condemning one party and uplifting the other.
Well, I come from a theory, I guess, that maybe is not like Obama's in a way, that we fight wars in the future with ideas and not weapons. And that's some kind of an ideology that would be nice in a perfect world, but we don't live in a perfect world. And what you're accusing me of taking a position on, that I don't support the Democrats, I'll tell you something, the Democrats will never, ever, 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 they'll go to their graves, the operatives, I mean the real battle, of not supporting any Republican idea whatsoever. And they call the Republicans every name in the book. They were calling Bush Hitler, for God's sake. They get away with it. If we were to say that, we don't get away with it. I'm saying at some point we have to realize what certain people are and fight fire with fire. I'm not going to treat them with kid gloves. The people out there need to hear the truth. Like Donald Trump is telling you the truth. If the truth hurts, I'm sorry. Go see a dentist if your tooth hurts. But at any rate, we have to get the truth out there. And I look at my job as someone who's asking for solutions to be called in. Tell me what your belief is, and I'll debate you if I don't agree with it. Let other people hear that. We're having a debate.
Are you saying that Hillary Clinton has not shared a single truth?
The closest she came to a truthful statement was over the weekend, where she said that Trump and Pence were absolutely the opposite of Clinton and Kane. That was truthful, but her implication was a complete lie, that they aren't qualified to be president, and their record supports that they're not qualified, when the truth of the matter is Hillary Clinton's never accomplished anything, and neither is Kane. So the premise that she said they are the opposite, that's exactly true. They are, but the implication is exactly wrong.
So what Hillary recently said about the veterans, that is not true.
What did she say about the veterans? Let me hear it, and then we'll see what the spin was.
Saying that they are worthy of the memorials and things that they support, that they get, the recognition that they get.
And that's exactly been Trump's position. So Trump has said the same thing. But according to her, Trump's not qualified to be president, and he said the same thing before Hillary did.
But you said the only truth that Hillary had said was the one in reference to Trump. And I asked you.
Well, I'm sorry, I take that back. That's the latest one. That's the latest example. I could probably give you many, but I just go to the most recent one.
And I'm sure that someone could find a lot of truth that Hillary has said. That doesn't mean that people should vote for either party. My point is that you're a brave person, a bold person, you're a thinker, you want to get people to make the right decision. You're sharing solutions that you should be commended on. You made it very clear that your real position that you're not for any other party, but you get rid of the party. And that, I believe, is what you want to come to more than anything else, rather than making it sound that, well, I'm kind of for not having a party, but I'm more just for the Republican Party.
Well, you mentioned like the Christians used to kill people and this and that, and all that stuff in history is absolutely true.
There are still Christians killing today.
No, but there's absolutely true that things have happened over history. Things do happen in history, okay? And I'm not a big backer. I think religion has been the cause of most of the wars in this world. And people with an ideology tend to fall into their beliefs that come from the religion side of the spectrum, where you're going to strap a baby with a bomb and you're going to go to heaven and have 72 virgins and all this claptrap that they promote to brainwash you. I don't agree in any of that. So I think it comes down to what is the truth? What does common sense support as reality? I want to live in reality. I don't want to live where we have two parties who will never agree on anything, no matter what it is. They're never going to agree. So we live in a system that's broken because of that fundamental flaw in the makeup of the system. Do you know a company that works where half the employees are against everything the other half does? I can name a few. They're all in bankruptcy court. That doesn't work. Why do we try to run our country this way? We have to come to the realization that some people have been brainwashed. And how do you treat someone who's been brainwashed? I guess you have to kind of hit them over the head with the facts and keep hitting them over the head with the facts. Otherwise, what do? There's a show that comes on later today or every day, Monday through Friday, called Solutions in Progress, coming from an angle of peace. Well, I agree with the premise of that show. I don't know, I hope they're successful, but when you tackle in peace with the way that the world is, how do you go over with the Islams, terrorists, and talk to them about peace? You might as well whistle Dixie all day long. It's never going to happen. Sometimes you have to hit people that have been indoctrinated over the head, maybe with an atom bomb, to get them to listen, because it just doesn't work. Some people are ruined.
Actually, I hear what you're saying, but there's a formula that the person speaks about, a peace, and the same exists with these parties. Same exists with religion. And you're right about the word indoctrination. What happens is people are taught before they actually experience the reality of their own thinking. They're thinking, but they're not thinking the same way. So they're taking the church, or their parents tell them that they're belonging to a party, and they just grow up into these things without really thinking through it clearly or being instructed in another way. And so it actually begins with what we could call the brainwashing that traps people into now what they claim to be their own belief, not ever really reasoning it out. Are these really my own thoughts? Did I really come to this conclusion to believe this way or to act this way? So since in America, we're not born into a culture teaching and encouraging peace for real. I mean, a lot of superheroes, violence, and on and on and on. So in a competitive world of football, of sports, and where boxers are guys given billions of dollars, maybe the highest paid athletes in the world.
For the shortest time frame in what they actually do. Some fights that Tyson had in his days didn't even last a minute, and they got paid millions of dollars. What's that as an hourly rate? My God.
Well, because when you looked at that, it was a lifetime of training that they called.
Oh, I see.
Therefore, it's great when they do it.
Right.
It is changing that thought, rather than hitting them up the side of the head with violence. Instead, to change the mindset, and that's what I'm offering to you today, saying you're stating the things that the public is probably unaware of. If you stay on those facts and show the flaws in the parties, what the people are going to want to hear from you is, okay, let's get rid of parties, but what do we replace it with? What's the better form of government that we need? Because what you're really speaking on is corrupt politics. So people say we're fed up with politics. The parties have said this. There are many, the candidates are saying this. There are many that they're fed up with it. They have no confidence in the political processes anymore. So what's the replacement?
Well, why does there always have to be a replacement when everybody professes that the replacement's going to come from government? I'm saying the government's the problem, not the solution. So we can't go and replace Obamacare, not with something that comes from the same government that proposed Obamacare.
Are you saying no government?
No, I'm saying there's a reason for government, which is indoctrinated a little bit in our Constitution, that they had certain powers, and only those certain powers. They have gone way beyond the Founding Fathers' description of what their powers were. Every day they encroach upon the power of the states. Everything not enumerated in the Constitution was supposed to be left to the states, which more or less gets it on a smaller footing, which it needs to be. Government needs to be smaller. not, the federal government does not need to be bigger, it needs to be made smaller. And when you come out with 7% of the economy is gonna be controlled by the federal government, and they're gonna dictate how and where and when you get your health care, Jesus Christ, we might as well just go together and jump off the cliff right now, because that's not gonna work.
But let's look at the reality of what you're saying there. If some public were to embrace that, other public would likely oppose, because that's like saying, okay, so if the South wanted to reinstitute slavery again, they have the right to do that. Smaller governments is run like a plantation. And of course, there's going to be a lot of people saying, absolutely no, we're not returning back where states can do whatever they want to do and be racist or whatever like that. So that's how the government the federal government ended up getting more power, because if the states begin to band together and begin to form their own little nation of the states that agree with the same ideology, the same business interests, then there's going to be another civil war.
Well, yeah, I think you're answering a question about an apple kind of with an orange, but I understand what you're saying, but shouldn't state sovereignty, as compared to other states, maybe a particular idea of the people that live in Georgia is completely contradictory to the people's ideas and policies of someone that lives in Alaska, for example. Should those two states have to have the same laws and regulations and everything else as the federal government says? Or should those ideologies of those particular states be left to the people of the state? I tend to lean that it should be left to the people of the state.
And other countries say that they're doing crimes on humanity. Say we would sanction that country for its crimes on humanity.
Well, that's more or less comparable to civil rights of the Americans.
If we have a state that's again being racist or discrimination, whatever, being unfair to women, whatever the situation is, and then this comes before a federal court, the Washington would be the arbitrator.
I don't have a problem with civil rights being enforced by the federal government. Matter of fact, I more or less agree with that.
They do have a problem with. See,
Who does?
It leaves your personal empowerment to a state now saying, well, we want to do whatever we want to do. We're a state.
Well, for example, should if the state of Montana allows 12-year-olds to drive a car, because Montana is spread out like unbelievable, and 12-year-old in Montana can probably drive a car because that's the way they were raised, and they go to Florida with their Montana driver's license as a 13-year-old, can they rent a car from Hertz in Florida?
Well, I'm thinking of a news article that I read today about a club. I think the name of the club is Club Blue, and there was a shooting that
Fort Myers?
yeah.
Yeah, I've heard something about that. I
The
don't.
children there were as young as 12 years old.
Wow.
That was kind of shocking to me. I didn't know they even allowed, I don't think that, what time it was and all, that they would have curfew and they would separate those ages like that. But if they club and party and do all things, I've heard the argument, well, they could be convicted as adults at the age of, at young ages. Why shouldn't the good children be given the same freedom and liberties of an adult? No, why can't they drive?
Who's
Why
going to
can't
be?
they be up all night if they want to or whatever?
Individuals are different, so who's going to be the deciding factor that says, well, you're a 12-year-old and you can go, but you're a 12-year-old and you can't go? We're getting into an area here that's far afield of what we're talking about. My point was the federal government has gotten too big and it has to be reined in. That's my point. Because they have a tendency to overstep their authority.
Right. But that's why it comes to a federal government saying, well, we'll be the body of people in the Supreme Court I'm talking about right now, that we will decide those issues of what 12-year-old can, of what they can and can't. That's how we got there with the 12-year-old. It's because there are relatives. If one state said 12 years old can, and then they move from one state to the other, and now 12-year-old are used to doing it, now the 12-year-old becomes a criminal for the freedoms they had in another state.
That's an issue.
And I think we're at that with the marijuana issue right now. But yes, I got you on political parties. Again, Be Heard is a good show. It gives people an opportunity. And I think a lot of people want to hear what's the stood out.
Okay, well, thanks for calling in. Okay, well, I think that caller may have been leaning towards a peaceful solution to everything that you can, I guess, convince people to all get along. Is that what I was hearing there? And the effort would be to make these, let's say for an extreme example, these Islamic terrorists that are cutting off people's heads, let's negotiate with them through words and ideas and bring them to the table of peaceful resolution. And when they're founded really tremendously so in a fanatical religious belief, I don't think that's going to happen. And I think religion, not to knock religion for religion itself, but some people need religion. But when the religion oversteps its bounds, just like the federal government oversteps its bounds continuously, the people have to say enough is enough. And it's going to have to be, I guess, a majority of the people with light thinking are going to have to try to rein in the government that tends to overstep their authority and abuse their power. It's a very dangerous situation when you got an abuse of power because you wear a black robe, let's say, as a judge, and you do not rule by law. You rule by an agenda that you may have, for example, to raise campaign contributions from a lawyer practicing in your court. That's how you get reelected. You need money for your signs that go out in the streets and so forth, and you rule in your courtroom according to the money you need. That is a very, very, very dangerous, dangerous world we become, and we as people somehow have to nip that in the bud, and we have to stop that kind of behavior. When you have the President of the United States profess that the American jurisdictional judiciary is the highest court in the land is tied, is what he said. That was the description from our president, that the judiciary is tied. What the heck does he mean tied? He was referring to, of course, his political, everything about him is politics, so everything is answered with a political ideology, that the Supreme Court is tied. How could a judiciary, before they ever hear the first fact in a case, how could they start off as tied? That just seems ridiculous to me. What are you tied about? The game hasn't even started yet. I mean, but you're tied. I guess every game does start off like baseball. They start off tied, right? 0-0. Is that what he was referring to? I don't think so. No, that would have been a different answer. But he referred to the fact that our Supreme Court is tied. Well, that's a very dangerous type of ideology or thought process for the leader of this country to have. And that points to my point of this this announcement, is that we have to do something to get reality back into our legislature, our judiciary, and our executive branches of government, and that goes in any individual state, that goes to their own sovereignty, and that goes to our federal government with their limited federal powers. The Constitution limited their federal powers, and we have to be sure as people and as states that the federal power is limited. But every day, the federal government tries to take more and more and more away from the rights of the people of this country. Whether it's through the EPA, for example, they find a little puddle on a farmer's farm out there in the middle of nowheres, and the farmer tries to maybe cover up the puddle or whatever, drain it or what have you, because it's not conducive to what he wants to use his land for, that he has used for many, many years maybe, and along came a storm and he has a puddle. The EPA, because they have the authority to fine that farmer, goes in looking for a problem that they can assess a fine. They go on the farm trying to find something that they can assess a fine for. For example, I was in the oil business and I produced oil wells, and we had the OSHA coming around inspecting all our sites, and what they were doing, they weren't looking to compliment us on what a great job that we were doing. No, their idea is to look for something and not to help us by fixing the problem. Say, hey, you know, I noticed over here this is happening. Oh, thanks for noticing that. My guys didn't notice that. Thanks. No, they go and right away it's a fine, a $10,000 fine a day if you have an oil spill in your lease. I go, where's the oil spill? What are you talking about? Well, there was a puddle of oil on one of my leases. It was caused by a truck. It was a crankcase oil leak. That's not an oil spill, you moron. That's an oil crankcase. It's not, it has nothing to do with the production of oil. It has to produce with, you're a moron. Don't ever let me find you on any of my leases again. Get the hell out of here. It's an extreme example, but that's where the government goes. Their agenda is not a positive agenda. It's always trying to regulate you, control you, put you in your place. They're the elite. They're the ones that count. You don't count. You're just one of the hens in the pen over there. We have to control you. You're nobody. You're just one of the little hens. We're the foxes. We're the elite. We're in control. That's the way the government treats the people of this country, and we have to change that. We as a people, we have to say enough is enough, and we have to change that. And that's what this show is all about. We want people to call in with solutions to what the problems are that we have that everybody knows, and just call in with your solution. We'll keep track of your solution. We'll put it in our system, and if someone else calls in with the same solution, that's two for that solution. Maybe someday the solution count will get so significant that we are forced to relay that to our elected officials, and they're going to have to do something about it because we're the herd and we want to be heard. So that's what this show's all about. So call in and join us. Thanks for listening.